Okay, welcome everyone. Wonderful again to spend an evening with you as we learn, sponsored by Shalom Fogel, Shmis Yaakov Zev ben Yehuda Aryeh, Rivka Bas Yaakov Yosef, Tzivya Miriam Bas Gad, Yosef ben Tzion ben Yaakov Zev, L'Refu Shalema for Moshe Aryeh ben Miriam, for a good shidduch for Chaya Tzivya Bas Shoshana Gittel, a good shidduch for Batya Bas Sarah. We're sponsored by Baruch Ian, Lila Nishmas, Yaakov Chaim ben Abba Esther Bas Yona, Avram ben Shmuel HaKohen, L'Refu Shalema for Liba Bas Anya. We're sponsored L'Refu Shalema for Yosef Shmuel ben Miriam, and for Healthy Mommy, Healthy Baby, for Ariel and Lior Bas Elza Rivka. We want to learn for Tinnik ben Yocheved Chaya, Moshe Meir ben Esther Fradel. So we're holding at the very top of Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph, and we're talking about why we put the tefillin on the left hand. We said that since it says Al Yodecha, in many psukim Yodecha is smell because the pasuk then goes on to say V'yamincha like Tipcha Aretz, right? Yodcha Yosta Aretz V'yamincha Tipcha Shemayim. So we see that Yodcha must be the left. So Rabbi Yossi Acharim says that's not consistent. Rabbi Yossi Acharim Aimer Matzinu Yamin Shinikur Yad. We find that the right hand is also called Yad. Shinem Avayar Yosef Kiyoshis Aviv Yad Yaminai. Yosef saw that Yaakov put his right hand on Ephraim, although Ephraim was the younger one. So the Gemara says, V'idach Yad Yamina Yikrei. If it says Yad Yaminai, that's the right. But Yad Stam lo Yikrei. Yad Stam, without any Levi, without any escorting word, refers to the left. Reb Nosson Amein Tzarech. We know a different way that it has to be on the left. Hari Yoimer Ukshartam Uchasaftam. It says next to Ukshartam, it says Uchsaftam. Maksiva B'yamin, just like somebody writes with his right hand. So Af Kshira B'yamin. So you have to tie it with your right hand. So if you're tying it with your right hand, you're putting it on the left hand. They came into Kshira B'yamin, Hanocha B'smali. You put it on the left. Rabbi Yossi Acharim Hanocha de B'smal Minale. How does he know that we put it on the left? So the Gemara says, Nafkalei Meichad and Nafkalei Reb Nosson. He learns it out from where Reb Nosson learns it out, from Kshartam Ksavtam. Rav Ashi says, no, it says Yod Cha. And Yod Cha is spelled Yud Dalet Chav Hey, which we darshan Yad Keha, the weaker hand. Ksiv Behei, it should have said just Yud Dalet Chav. Why does it say Hey? Keha, it means the weak hand. Amalei maybe Abel Rav Ashi, but you know sometimes a Hey and a Ches is interchangeable. So maybe the Ema Yodcha Shebekayach, maybe it means the right hand, the strong hand. Amalei, so he says, look, it doesn't say Ches. Miksib Beches, I'd rather learn what it says, Yadcha with a Hey, that's Keya. So the Gemara says it's actually a Machlokes Tanoim, how we know it's the left. Kitanoi. Yodcha Behei, that's Yad Keya, Zusmel, that's the left. Acherim Aimer Yodcha L'Rabbis Es Hagidem. It includes one who the lower part of his arm is amputated. He still has to put it on the stump. That's one shot. Another shot is, even if his arm is crushed and useless, he still puts it on that arm. Tanya Idach, Ein lo Yizraya. If a person doesn't have a left hand, patim in that tefillin. He's patim from the tefillin shel yad, because you only put it on the weak hand. If he only has one hand, that's the strong hand. But he still has a mitzvah to put it on the head. This is another halacha to include even if he just has a stump with a bicep or if it's a useless hand. Now what about a lefty? A lefty puts his tefillin on his right hand. Shehu Smailai, because that's his weak hand. I, Vatanya, the lefty is Maniach B'Smailai, puts it on his left hand. Shehu Smailai Shel Kol Adam, everybody's left hand. Says, it's talking about somebody that's ambidextrous. If he's ambidextrous, then he puts it on his left hand like everybody else. Now, where on the hand do you put it? Al Yodcha could also mean on the palm of your hand. So, Tana de Bei Menashe, Al Yodcha Zuki Bores. That's the bicep muscle on the top. Beineinecha Zukot Koid. That's at the front of the temples. Says Heicha, where? Imrei de Bei Reb Yanai Makam Shemoicha Shel Tinek Roifes. The place where the brain, the skull of an infant is very soft, what we call the fontanelle. Boimine Plimo Merebi, very, very, very strange question. Mi sheyesh lo shnei roshim, somebody that has two heads, eizemeh maniach tefillin. Which one does he put on tefillin? Maybe he puts it on the left head just like he puts it on the left hand. Now, Rebbe was not happy with this question. He felt that it was a nonsensical question, almost like he was making fun. Amalei oikum glei, either exile yourself, or kibbel alach shamta, or accept upon yourself excommunication, because nobody with two heads could live till his bar mitzvah. Adahachi, in the meantime, there's no coincidences. Yesterday morning, I had a tire that had no air. Not no air, but the regular air was 38, and this was saying 25. So I walked over to somebody in BRS, in Shul. BRS is Boca Raton Synagogue, where I was davening. And I asked him, do you happen to have an air pump? And he says, yes, I happen to have an electric air pump. We go outside. There's a huge parking lot with like 100 cars. And his car is parked right next to my car. And I said, look at that. And he was a Lubavitcher Chassan, and he says, well, what do you expect? There's no coincidences. He's right.
You should have had a battery boost at the same time.
Now, Adahachi, in the meantime, Asahu Gavra, a man came, Amalei Isyalidli Yanuka de Islay Trey Reshe. I had a child that has two heads. Kama Ba'ina Lamesav L'Kayin. How much money do I have to give the Kayin? Do I have to give 5 shekel for each head? So Asahu Saba, that's usually Eliyahu Navi. Tanu Leichayev Litan Le'eses Slam. You have to give the Kayin 10 slam. Now this is strange, because such a child can't live. We'll learn like Taisvis that a treifa, you don't have to give Pidyon Aben for a treifa. Ini Vatani Rami Bechama Mitoch Shenema Podoi Tifte Es Bechara Adam. You should surely redeem. So it says a double lashon. Even if he becomes a treifa during the first 30 days. Taisus learns a treifa. Rashi says he was killed. Talmud Laimar Ach Chalak. Even though it says Padei Difta, but if he's a treifa, you don't have to give. So since we said such a person cannot live, so why do you have to give? Says the Gemara Shani Achad to be Gilgoilis Tala Rachmana. The pasuk says the lashon of Gilgoilis. This is by the redeeming of the Levium, and since it says a lashon of Gilgoilis, so that is a special. It says V'lakachta chameshes shkalim la Gilgoilis. So since there's a special mention of Gilgoilis, so even though a normal treifa you don't, but you would have to redeem, and you would have to redeem per head. Now, I don't know, last night we had 42 and tonight we have 31. Dr. Guy, Yaakov Warman, Reuven Shannon, Yisrael Fisher, Irving Fishbaum, Baruch Ian, Saba, Chaim Kramer, Eddie Chazan, Rebel Yayafi, A.B. Spry, Baruch Shgeseman, Mel Zachter, Marshall Castle, Itchy, Danny Vogel, Michael, Yitzi Fuchs, Menachem Umansky, Barry Cement, Nachman Chapler, Chaim Lerner, Moshe Lehman, Stephen Holtzman, Gabriel Epstein, Avram Rezepkowitz, Yehuda Solomon, Rabbi Kranz, Yitzi Muller, and I think it's David Helfgott, who gets a mazel tov on the engagement of a daughter. Now let's analyze about the bicep. How do we know Yodcha means the elevated bicep? Amamar, Yodcha zu kibaris. Yodcha is the bicep. Minolan, the Tana Rabbanan al Yodcha zu goyve shebiyad. That's the elevated part of the hand. Atay mizu goyve shebiyad. Oy eina el al Yodcha mamish. Maybe it means on the palm. Amar Torah hanach tefillin biyad, v'hanach tefillin barosh. Ma'alahalan b'goyve shebarosh. Just like we put it on the elevated part of the head. Afkan b'goyve shebiyad. We put it on the elevated part of the hand. Rebbe Eliezer, ain't it tzarich? You don't need that. We know it because it should be a place where if it's on the palm of the hand, everybody will see it. But by the tefillin shel biyad, it says it should be concealed. Rebbe Eliezer, ain't it tzarich? Hayur omer v'haya l'chalais. It should be for you a sign. In other words, it's covered by the tefillin, by your jacket, by your shirt. So it should be privately. L'chalais v'loy l'achayim lois. That wouldn't be true if it's on the palm of the hand. Rav Moshe says a beautiful thing. Rav Moshe says that why is it that first we put it privately and then we put it on the head for everyone? So Rav Moshe says that's the way a person should work on himself. Before you want to be mashpia on others, you have to first incorporate it privately yourself. That's very pashut, because if something is not hartzik, you're not going to be able to impact other people. Sometimes I see something and I don't talk about it right away. I first want to incorporate it. And then after incorporating it, I could talk about it to other people. And there are other topics that I don't speak about because I don't feel that I'm mastering it. And that I don't feel comfortable talking about it. Now, Rabbi Yitzchak Amein Tzarech, because it says, it should be upon your heart, ukshartam. So it should be next to the heart. If it would be on the palm, it's not next to the heart. Indeed, Reb Chia v'Rav Acha b'Rei Rav Avya mechavein umanach le'lahadei libei. Not only does he put it on the bicep, but he tilts it towards the heart. Rav Ashi, have a Yosef Kamei de Ameimar. He was sitting before Ameimar. Have a tzirya biyada. He had a tear in his shirt, so you could see the tefillin shel yad. Become eschazian tefillin. Amalei. So he said, it should be for you to assign and not for others. So he says, no, that's only telling you the place. It should be a place that's normally private. But it doesn't have to be private. That's his opinion. It just means in a place that's usually private. But if it's exposed, it's okay. Says the Gemara, how do we know that the tefillin is put on the top of the head? Right? Maybe it should be beinei necha mamish. Maybe it should be between the eyes. The Tana Rabbanan, beinei necha zu goyve shebaraish. When it says beinei necha, that's the top of the head. Atay mizu goyve shebaraish eina ela beinei necha mamish. Maybe it means literally between your eyes. So nemer kan beinei necha, the nemer lahalan, and it says by that you're not allowed to pull out here. because of a grief. You shouldn't pull out hair between your eyes over a death. And it's talking about the top of the head with his hair, a place where you can make bald. Afkan here too, Rabbi Yehuda Aimer ain't it tzarech, it's not needed. Amr Torah, before we learn this, let me give you a preface. By tzaras, together with the tzaras, the size of a gris, the size of a split bean, there usually has to be another sign. If it's on skin, the sign is a white hair. If it's on a place of hair, the sign is a tzohov, a golden hair, yellowish hair. So Rabbi Yehuda Aimer ein et tzarech amr Torah hanach tefillin biyad and hanach tefillin b'rosh. Put tefillin on the hand and put tefillin on the head. Malahalan b'makom haroy l'tamei b'neged echad. It's on the hand in a place which is only one kind of nega, the one that's accompanied with white hair. Afkan b'makom haroy l'tamei b'neged echad, on the top of the head, which is with his hair that has one nega with a gold hair. Lafuke beinei necha, that has both. It has the eyebrows and the skin, the ikabas of a seir. So there's two types of negan. So therefore that's the ikaseir lovin. There's a tzaras of white hair. Nami seir tzad. There's a tzaras of gold hair. And now we move on to tzitzis.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
What is the halach l'maaseh Siamese twins, and they are bar mitzvah? You hear that they live longer. What do they do about shorosh?
Probably they each take a shorosh.
Interesting. Thank you.
Arba tzitziyos ma'ak v'zu ezu. You can't have only 3 tzitzis. You need to have 4. Shaba aba osan mitzvah achas. Now, Rabbi Shmuel argues and says each one is a separate mitzvah. So, my beinai, what are some differences between them? Amar Rav Yosef Sodin b'tzitzis ikabeinai. If you have a linen garment with tzitzis, which includes tchelis, which is wool. So, according to the Tanakama, if there's 3 of them, you're not yotzi. So then it would be kloyim, and you wouldn't be allowed to have it. According to Rabbi Shmuel, each one is a mitzvah, so even 3 would be doicha kloyim, because it says gedilim leisil b'shatnus, but gedilim tasalach. So you're allowed to do it. Rav Barahina Amar talis balas chamesh ikabinah. The question is a talis of 5 corners, which we learn from a drasha that some hold the talis of 5 corners is chayiv and tzitzis. The Tanakama holds that 4 is the mitzvah, so you would only put on 4 corners. According to Rabbi Yishmael, that each one is a separate mitzvah, you would put on all 5 corners. Ravina Amar, it's a Shabbos difference. Rav Huna ikabinayu. Dam Rav Huna yaitze b'talis she'ena mitziyesas kilachasa b'Shabbos. If you go out with a talis that's not properly has tzitzis, chayiv chatas, because it's considered carrying. So according to the Rabbanan, if you go out with 3, you're carrying, you would be chayiv chatas. According to Rabbi Shmuel, you fulfill a mitzvah, you wouldn't be chayiv chatas. Amar Rav Shesha b'rei Ravidi, Haiman debatzrei leglimei. If one cut off a corner, so by cutting off the corner, he made it into a 5-cornered garment. Lo yavid lo klum, because shav yatalis balas chamesh, which we said is chayiv. But what if he rounded it? So Amra Mishashi Haiman Ditzaire Leglime, if he folded back and knotted it to round it off, Lo yavid v'lo klum. Why? Because it's going to be undone. So the knotting it is not considered a permanent fix. My timer, the command is shayadami. It's like it's already untied, it's still a four-cornered garment. U'tananami kol chamosais hatzrurais tyrus. All skins that are not sewed on the bottom, this is skins that they used to drink from. If they're only tied on the bottom, tyrus, that's not considered a keli because it gets untied. Chutz mishel arbiyim, except for the Arabians, because that's the derech how they make their skins. Amar Avdimi Minarda, Haiman de Chayte Leglime. If he sewed it in order to round it off, Le'avid V'Le'klum. Why? Because if he didn't want it, he would have cut it off. Im Isa D'Loi Mibayile, Lifsaik V'Lishtia, let him round it off and cut off. The fact that he sewed it shows that he's going to bring it back, and therefore it's chayiv. Rabbi Shmuel Omer Arbatan Arba mitzvahs. The four tzitzis are four separate mitzvahs. Am Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel Halach Rabbi Shmuel. However, v'les hilchos kavasei. The halacha is not like Rabbi Shmuel, but rather it's all one mitzvah. Ravina have a ka'ozul abasrei demar bavashi b'shapsa de rigla. Ravina was walking behind Mar Bavashi by the Shabbos of the festival, where there were huge throngs of people. If Sekarna Dechute, one of his tzitzis, split off. And he didn't tell him anything because he was afraid he would throw off his cloak and be there in his underwear. Kadmate Lebeise, when he got to the house, Amalei Mehasam Ifsik, that it was already cut off over there, but I didn't tell you. Amalei, so Mar Bavashi said, if you would have told me, Mehasam Shadisa, I would have taken it off. So the Gemara says, but I don't understand. That human dignity is so great, so even though you're not allowed to walk without tzitzis, but wouldn't human dignity supersede that? Says no, it only pushes away a lav of drabanan. Tirgam Rabba Shma Kamei Ramasna Belav de Loisaser. Loisaser means that you're not allowed to turn away from the rabbanan to the right or the left. It's only daicha of the rabbanan. But the raisa, we say ein chachma vein svuna neged Hashem. You have to give honor to Hashem. The ikadam, right? Others say mahasam amalei. He told him over there. V'amalei my daitich lemishtir. You think I should take off my clothing? V'amamar gadol kavod abriya shedaicha esloisa asay shebetayra. So, but he asked him, "V'tirgum Rabbi Shva Kamed Rav Kana belav deloy saser." It's only by a drabana. So he says, "We're not carrying the rice over here." Hachanami Carmelis. Here we're only in a rishus drabanan, a Carmelis, like a big parking lot. It wasn't a rishus rabban d'oraisa, so therefore it's only an issa drabanan, and therefore there we say that kavod abriyas is doicha a drabanan. I just want to mention that this month we are also sponsored by dailygiving.org. Most of my Zoomers have heard a lot about dailygiving.org from me in the past, but for all my viewers and listeners on Kolosh and to anytime.com, on YouTube, dailygiving.org is a good colleague to Daf Yomi. The idea of Daf Yomi is that we learn a Daf a day. The idea of Daf Yomi is we do it every day, non-stop. Ritzuvos. DailyGiving.org makes sure that every day we give $1 to a hand-picked tzedakah. And I really mean a hand-picked tzedakah. Whether it's Tomchei Shabbos, whether it's TorahAnytime.com, whether it's a time, whether it's Ohel, whether it's Misaskim, whether it's Hatzalah, whether it's United Hatzalah, whether it's Magen David Adayim, whether it's Zaka, whether it's Pilim. I mean, we're talking about world-class institutions, and you give $1 a day. It's a really wonderful thing. You never swipe a credit card for such a good purpose. $1 a day keeps the doctor away. dailygiving.org. All right, we want to remind you that if you would like to be a second sponsor of this week's Chumash Shir, 718-916-3100, rmmwsi@aol.com, and we'll pause a minute and we'll learn the Mishnah Yomis.